Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for our weekly demo shop mod collection recap. We'll start on the Gibson website. This week had a few interesting offerings. As of right now, we just have some leftovers on the page available to buy, a Lefty 335, and something kind of interesting here. Now to me, it looks like somebody at the mod shop has been watching my videos. Because doesn't it look like it was clearly influenced off of the Final Fantasy Stratocaster? You've got a color right here, you've got a color right there. Except for this time, the color's in the opposite ranges, because it's a lefty. Now obviously, it's not a crystal, and essentially all they did was take like a cherry sunburst finish, paint it over black, and then scrape some of that away to expose the red in these areas a bit more. Then you have almost like a red binding going on to the whole thing. But then when I saw the headstock, I was like, whoa, is that a red Gibson logo too? And sure enough it is. They must have took that from a stockpile of parts when they were doing the Voodoos for AMS. But here's a good look at that side profile view. So essentially just the maple cap exposed, but they just scraped that off to have that original red finish. As far as these Les Paul tributes go that get modified, this one definitely had a little bit more effort put into it. So nice job whoever did that one. $12.99 seems to be fair, and hey, a lefty gets to have something interesting. Nice. But now let's dive into some of the quickly sold listings. So mod collection special in what they called Burgundy Magic. When I first saw this, I just thought, okay, it's one of those sparkling burgundy SGs. What's so special about it? That's when you realize Burgundy Magic means they put a sparkle top on this thing. So they left the sides and the contours alone. You still have that very beautiful burgundy color. But on the top, they did that sparkle finish that we saw a couple of weeks back on some other custom guitars. On top of that, we get an upgraded intonatable wrap tailpiece with what looks like a Thunderbird bass pickup and a chrome-covered P90 in the neck position. We no longer have any type of pickguard on here because they did the refin on the top and could hide it, but they left the tenon cover alone. All this for only $14.99? Had I been here in time, I probably would have picked this thing up for a review and documentation. Just because those sparkle tops always look cooler in person, and what is going on with that? I need to read the specs. Oh my goodness, they did. Lead Thunderbird bass pickup. How does that work? I've never tried a bass pickup within a guitar. How would that sound? Man, I wish I could have got that one. Oh my goodness, they even did the sparkle job on the back of the headstock and on the back of the neck. They put on the Schaller Made in Germany tuners. Those are always cool. And even the back was sparkled? Is the entire thing sparkled? Okay, maybe I'm wrong on this. I thought it was just the top, but no, they might have sparkled everything? I'm not sure. Let's just say whoever got that one, congratulations. That's probably worth at least $500 more than they're advertising it for. Next up, we have a Satin Smokehouse burst on a Les Paul Studio. Okay, I don't understand why they buffed it down to a satin, but they put a Bigsby unit on it. They've got the interesting pickup rings going on, but other than that, doesn't look like anything too fancy. And then, hey, I think we found the guitar that lost a pickup. Non-reverse Thunderbird, it's missing one of its pickups. It's because they actually added another one right there, and it's like, okay, you've got enough space right here that you can pick, or, hear me out, you could add a fourth pickup in this beast. You can see the one added control knob there that they put as well. It's either catching the light differently, or it's just a different color in general. Kind of interesting. But here's one of my favorites from the mod collection this time, done up in a satin copper finish. They put a sideways vibrola unit on it, but made it non-functional, so you just get the kind of cool look. So basically a trapeze tailpiece on here, but I love the way those things look. And then they capped off the tailpiece studs, and everything else is just pretty much standard besides the finish, and the fact that the pickups don't have pole pieces exposed. But with a natural back and sides, this is just one cool guitar. Like, that color, you can tell it's metallic. It's gonna look dark in certain angles, brighter in others. It should match real well with this kind of dark honey-colored mahogany. And on top of that, it was offered at a $200 discount off of modern day pricing. Something similar here. Another fancy lefty here in Pyrite Treasure. Oh, I see what you did there, Mr. Guy who named this. Pyrite Treasure, Pirate Treasure. That's almost worth buying just for the name. All right. So what they were going for here is that fool's gold vibe. I'm not sure if that's a metallic finish or what, but it does appear that they took the time to do the entire guitar. So in that aspect, great job. It's like a olive drab green mixed with a bit of gold. Kind of disgusting, but cool at the same time. But a lefty picked that up for $1,400. Oh, but by far, the hands down best one this entire time is this thing. Done up in a flat black finish. We've got this crazy Firebird, guaranteed. If I would have been here at the time of upload of these things, I would have picked this up because A, we could have checked out the toaster pastry pickups that I've been wanting to see in person. Like, I've had people send me photos, so I understand what they are, but I still want to tear it apart and look at it anyways. But they took a regular Firebird, they gave it a flat black finish, they've got something going on here. It's like burn marks. I don't know what the design's actually trying to be. It almost kind of looks like thorns. But it looks pretty cool with the vibrola unit on it. Even the capped off studs almost kind of match this whole thing that they've got going on. But then, icing on the cake, they did the headstock like that too. So I actually have not reviewed one of the modern day Firebirds yet. So that would have been a great one, even if it was priced at $2,200. But looking at this photo, it almost appears that they put another finish on top of that, and then they took like a scalpel or something and just carved that finish away. I'm not sure. Maybe that wouldn't look so good in person. I thought it was like a printed design. It has a pretty cool effect to it though, especially since Firebirds are neck through. Pretty much my only complaint here is they didn't match that on the back of the body. But if they did that on the back of the body, they'd have to do it on the back of the headstock too, and then you might mess with your serial numbers. Then this kind of looks similar to that other guitar we were just looking at, but they called it Dragon's Breath Burst. It's a Les Paul Classic for a slight premium there. And it's like a dark red into more of like a metallic brownish copper color. It's nice. Not my favorite, but I like the interchanged hardware, the pickup rings, all that. It's a pretty cool guitar. Now we've got SG Special Copper. So it seems the mission this week was create really cool lefties and brownish reddish colored guitars. Let's see, did they do the back? Yes, indeed they did. So that's a good buy at the old original retail price. That's all for the mod collection. Let's go ahead and check out the demo shop. Starting off here, when I clicked on this, I was like, okay, some sort of like a Les Paul standard with weird colored pickup rings and a dark blue finish. That's cool. But then I read the title. Oh, custom figured Blue Widow. Oh, why? Blue Widows. In case you haven't watched my videos, they get the blue headstock, they get the blue colored binding. Looks pretty sweet, right? Why would you put white knobs and red on it? I mean, the whole point of a Blue Widow is you love the color blue. Everything should be blue on it. But I guess they already did that to a Widow previously, so they're like, okay, let's try to choose a complementing color. Now, what would make this really cool is if they would have colored the outside layer of the binding red, did a white layer, and then the blue layer, so everything kind of gets mixed in naturally. Like the white knobs right now, they match with your white block inlays, but the red is just there to contrast. But to be fair here, $4,800 for a Widow with a playability warranty for 2 years, that's not a bad price. But they're saying it's an exclusive custom paint when it's not, unless this didn't start life as a Widow and they just oversprayed it in blue, which would be easy enough because they don't have to scrape the binding and stuff like that. And then looky right here, I think this is another case of somebody at Gibson's watching my videos. Remember that SG Deluxe I unboxed and we just reviewed a day or two ago? How I said, you don't have to choose between batwing guards and half guards anymore. You can get Les Paul style. This one of the SG Moderns, they decided to throw a Les Paul style pickguard on it. And on top of that, this thing just has a great top. I mean, not the nicest I've ever seen, but very wide. That's the kinds of flame I like. And the black pickups and everything just sets that finish in a different level. That's why. It's because it matches the headstock. The black here, black there. Very nice. Next up, we had a Les Paul Studio T in Alpine White. I was just going to share this with you guys because at the time of recording, it's available. $1,000 for a white Les Paul Studio, granted from the modern era. Seems like a pretty good price to me. If you've been shopping for studios lately, you'll know how expensive they've gotten. It even has a case. Speaking of cases, here's a okay price on a 57 Les Paul Special. Nothing really fantastic about the guitar other than just being a nice reissue Les Paul Special. But I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, the exterior of these custom shop cases tries to emulate the old chipboard alligator style ones, and here's a nice shot of that on the exterior. Man, I love that. It looks good. Makes me wish Gibson would do like an anniversary model of juniors and specials. That way I'd have an excuse to bring one in on the show and be like, oh yeah, look at this cool case. Speaking of cool, weird oddities, here's an ES345 that they put a wrap tail piece on. I like it. They capped off the stop bar tailpiece, left those there. The only thing I would change on this is instead of doing that, Gibson should just order them a whole bunch of those custom-made plaques so they can start to use those instead. That way people could like revert it if they wanted to. But I'm guessing they would have had to have routed out the body a little bit more than regular bridge studs anyways. But that's all this thing needs is a custom-made plaque on it. And then it's like, yeah, weird wrap tail 345. Yeah, why not? And of course they flipped the neck pickup just to be fancy. And hey, the back even has a little bit of figuring along with the wood grain. Not a terrible price. But then there's this 335 in a satin cherry color. All right, sure, it's got the mixed hardware here, but what made me stop on this one is when I looked on the back, I was like, is that a gloss neck and a satin body? The opposite of what people want? But no, then I got to this phone and it's like, nah, that's all satin. It's all satin. But I would be the proud owner of the guitar that people generally would not spec out like that. But that wasn't the case. But for really expensive guitars this time, we had a custom shop Korina Flying V and an Explorer from the Unlimited collection. This isn't the collector's edition that I've reviewed and documented in both of these videos. These are the ones that they're going to produce for as long as they have the Korina wood available to them, and they're $10,000 a pop. So if you were going to buy one of these things brand new anyways, I mean, granted, it's going to have a few light scuffs on it, but honestly, brand new Gibsons generally have something wrong with them if you're looking hard enough. These were a pretty good deal. I mean, $8,699 on the Explorer, and surprisingly enough, $9,000 on the Flying V. What was so wrong with this Explorer? I mean, these ones were two-piece bodies instead of one-piece as the collector's edition was. But, I mean, I'm not seeing anything too crazy on this. Like, that's just a lacquer sinkage right here. That's not necessarily nicks and dings. I mean, you got a few small spots here. I mean, that's nothing anybody's going to care about in 10 years once these things are long out of production. But at the same time, that is really expensive for a Korina-style Explorer. There's definitely older ones that are used that would be about that price or less. So if you're shopping for one of these, yes, it's a good deal, but there's a lot of guitars you can buy when you get to that price point. Now we've got the 70s Deluxe. So this started life as the Deluxe. They just gave it different kinds of mini humbuckers that don't have the exposed pole pieces. And it looks like maybe gold hardware, but I've got to shame the guy who did this one. Really? You couldn't put the correct sized pickguard on it? Now, I get it. This is a Les Paul custom style pickguard, and generally those don't have mini humbuckers or P90s. Well, I guess now that I think about it, they could have took one from a 54 style Les Paul custom and it would have fit, but this just must have been all they had that day. They were probably sad it had to leave the door like that with a giant gap in it too. But I view that one as a lazy modification. Probably could have been done better. And look at that Deluxe truss rod. The font was stamped sideways. That's why it ended up in the demo shop parts bin. It's good that it could get used up though. Ooh, and this Alpine white Les Paul custom. Now granted, remember, we are in the demo shop. These guitars have blemishes. That is why they are here. Gibson sells them for the prices they do because people are willing to pay them. So I don't want any hate in the comment section. This was caught by QC and thrown to the demo shop. But get a load of this. Ooh, that must stink. You're building this beautiful guitar, or you don't realize that it's been over-routed in this area. You take the time to finish it and then go, oh no. So normally, I think back a couple of years, this guitar would have been chopped up and sold for firewood. But does this affect playability? No. So as long as somebody buys it and they know that it's there, it's fine. They just went a little bit crazy on the router machine, I guess. But that one's listed at $4,399. And as far as things that have sold, the #1 custom finish from the demo shop this week was Fresh Blast. It's one of those Les Paul tributes, and as far as these things go, it's kind of cool. It's like a blue layer and then kind of a lighter blue and then into like that ocean green. They've got those matching blue pickup rings. The black plastics are kind of an interesting choice. I kind of feel that maybe cream would have brought out the ocean vibes out of this thing a bit better. And yeah, it would have been cool if they would have did the same thing on the back because that maple neck would have looked really cool then. But I really wish they would have did a matching headstock on this one. Like maybe even burst it, because then that would have been something to be documented. But let's face it, for the tributes, generally they don't do the back and sides, because then they would get really expensive. I mean, these are entry-level Les Pauls that we're talking about here. $14.99, it sold quickly. This Les Paul Standard HP, if it's just nice. It reminds me of a desert. It's very uniform, even flame, not too pinstripey, but not too wide at the same time. If you enjoy high performance specs like the Access cutaway heel and the titanium nut, this was for you. And here we have a 2015 Les Paul Special double cut. They did a custom one of these a couple of weeks ago with the black stinger. And I think it was that guitar we saw that this little decal on the back had cracked right here and pulled some of the finish away. I actually had somebody who purchased one of these things brand new send me a photo exactly the same, saying, no, that wasn't somebody trying to pick it off. These things are indeed shrinking and taking the finish with them as they crack right there. So, 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, when maybe 2015s are collectible due to their weird nature, that's going to be something that might have happened to all of them. It also could just depend on how they've been stored. But these little decal things, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they're under the finish, and that's why that's happening. I have seen somebody take one off, but if I remember correctly, that was a very extensive process. It's not just a cheap little sticker. We've got 3 left to talk about, so let's start with the 335 in a figured iced tea. I like the color of the pickup rings. I liked the color of the guitar despite being more of a perimeter burst, but it's got one of those nice deserty tops to it, and I love that cream styled pickguard. Kind of reminds me more of an Epiphone Casino at this point though. And then the back. See how it's like a little bit of a lighter color right here in the horns, but on the back it's darker? That's interesting. I think I would have preferred a more traditional style burst on the back, but I'll accept it on the front. Just maybe, even though generally I'd just prefer regular teardrop. This Les Paul Traditional was a great deal, $15.99. Now remember, it's a Trad Pro, so it's slightly below a regular Traditional, but it's done up in the Blueberry Burst finish. Same colored pickup rings as that 335 you're just looking at. We've got BFG styled wooden knobs, it appears, but what is with that pickguard? It's like Les Paul meets 335 meets heritage style pickguards. I don't like it. It's a bit too blocky right here for my own taste, but technically, I guess it does protect the guitar a little bit better. But I don't think the colors work. There's too much interchanging in this for me personally. But it was a fantastic deal. That's a no-brainer at $15.99, even if you had to change some parts. And then I saved a good one for last. It's advertised as oxblood, so that means when you get this in the light just right, it's actually going to be a very deep maroon red color. But this is one of the 70s SGs that Chicago Music Exchange does. Oxblood was actually a fairly recently new color that CME did. So I'm wondering if this was one of the prototypes, or maybe just one in the first batch or something that didn't quite live up to expectations. So it got thrown back, had a custom style pickguard on it, and it just looks pretty cool. Like all that darkness looks nice. Nothing against the tortoiseshell pickguard, and this particular photography lighting seems to show off that red hue a little bit better. But if nothing else, hey, these things do exist if you want to purchase them. It looks like more expected in December, so $1,700 for brand new, or you can get this modified one for a decent discount, except for it's already sold out. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed the recap this week. Let me know in the comment section which one was your favorite. Don't forget to like the video and share it with a friend who you think would enjoy it, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.